Hi, everybody. How wonderful to see you all. I see that there's a batch of people coming on to this webinar. And hello to all of you who are on my Facebook page and are listening to this live or recorded. So it's wonderful to be here. And I have a couple of secrets about intention mastery that I want to share with you. And I also want to spend an hour with you answering your most pressing questions and also telling you about my Power of Eight Intention Masterclass, the once a year-long class that has become a kind of iconic staple in my um, work and with my courses, and would love to share more about that with you. So before I answer your questions, I want to share some information. I've prepared a little PowerPoint so that I can go through a couple of those important secrets, and then we can talk about it. I can take your great questions, etc. So let me just share this with you because I want to go through a couple of fundamentals. There's so much misinformation about the power of intention. It's kind of shocking. Um, so you have to ask the sort of basics when you're trying to do miraculous healing. What do you mean by intention? Now, if you've seen a lot of the popular press or the popular movies like The Secret, you know that what they usually say is it's essentially, more or less a matter of I believe I receive. Now, The Secret was a wonderful thing to introduce people to the power of intention. But in my view, the whole idea of it is a little bit simplistic. It needs more than that. But that whole idea is all about I want, I get. If you remember, many of the people talking about it said, listen, it's like having a menu and just choosing, I want this and I want that in my life and I want the other. And that's more or less how it's supposed to work. But hang on one sec. I've just gone into, for some reason, wait one quick second. I'm just going to come out of here because I see my picture isn't showing up and I don't know why. So let me just find out why there. There I am. Okay, let's go back again. So this is the whole idea that we usually have, that intention is all about I want, I get, and that's all you need to do. But it's a little more complicated than that. The other thing that we usually think of is that I need to suffer in order to heal my life. That seems to be the idea that we all come to, is in order to heal my life, I have to go through a lot of deprivation. I have to walk through live coals, or I have to fast for days or weeks. The other thing that we think about is that in order to become an intention master or a healing master, I need years of disciplined practice. And that's also not true in my experience. There is a fast track to healing, and it is all about harnessing your own natural power. And that is the essential power of oneness. Now, in my Power of Eight Intention Masterclass, and this year is kicking off on February 5th, it's a year-long course. I teach at the very least 13 keys to intention mastery. There's lots of other stuff that I teach also to heal different parts of your life. But those 13 keys are really important. We're not going to talk about any but one of them today, but I want to let you in on a batch of other secrets. First of all, the idea that people usually have about intention is that it's a power thought. I have my power thought. I focus on the morning. After I've had my morning coffee, I sit down, I meditate, I send out my power thought. And that's the only thing the universe hears. But the science shows us the work of the great late Fritz Albert Popp, the German physicist, and the work of the late great Dr. Carl Pribram, the American neuroscientist, demonstrate that our thoughts are not encased inside our brains. We're more like antenna transmitters and receivers. You know, we're a bit like a television station and a television set all at the same moment. And we are sending and receiving at every moment. That's how incredible it is. That's how much of a broadcast you have. And you are essentially a leaky bucket. You are broadcasting out all the time. So stop and ponder that for a moment. How, when you think that you are just sending out the intentions you want, you're sending out intentions all day. Your thoughts are leaking out and controlling your life all day. And I wonder how many of those are positive thoughts. How many of those concern what you really want? Because you're having a constant broadcast. And you've got a giant megaphone. You are beaming out, you're broadcasting at every moment. Light emissions coming from you are being sent and received at every moment. So the first intention secret I want to go over with you is to become a lot more conscious of what you're sending. Because certain thoughts that you think will enlarge certain brain pathways. If you're more compassionate, that part of your brain grows larger. If you're able to focus more, that part of your brain grows larger. If you want to intend for something, you create those neural pathways that lead you more likely to have your goal. So if you have this giant megaphone, you've got to think about what it is you're broadcasting. You have about 70,000 thoughts a day. So just ponder for a minute. And that's what I do with my students. I help them police that so that they are broadcasting what they really want, not what they don't want, and not, as they do in most cases, not all that flotsam and jetsam that goes through their heads, all of that negative, judgmental thinking. We start eliminating that so that you can broadcast what you really want. And that's the real key. This is the one key I want you to take away from this hour conversation. And it's something I really stress with my masterclass students. And that is to tell the universe exactly what you want. You would be amazed at what people say. They will say, I want to be rich. I want to win the lottery. And that is not a specific intention. When I've done my intention experiments, the few that haven't worked because I haven't been specific. So one of the 13 keys that I teach in my masterclass is how to be specific. You've got to tell the universe exactly what you want, when you want it, what you want, who it's supposed to be for, where you want it, what's the time frame, all of that. When you're really specific, when you focus on healing a particular thing, if you've got a pain in your right second toe of your right foot, you intend to heal that. The more specific you are, the more it is likely to work. That is the biggest key I can give you. And it's really important to focus on that and send it out. The third key I want to talk to you about in this broadcast is harnessing the power of oneness. Where I see a fast track more than anywhere else is with small group intention. Now, I've been teaching this since 2007, and I've been studying intention since the 1990s. And I have found that intention in a small or large group, and size doesn't matter, it doesn't magnify according to numbers. It needs to be a group, though. And when you can harness that power, extraordinary things can happen. And the power of oneness is really the secret sauce of your fast track to oneness. I find the fast track to healing, because I find when people get together in a group, they lose their sense of individuality. They feel less separate. We've studied this in brainwave studies. I've worked with teams of neuroscientists. We've looked at what happens during Power of Eight groups, and we've found that those groups, the individuals in those groups, even if they've never practiced this before, very quickly, the parts of the brain that make them feel separate become diminished. They enter a state of ecstatic oneness, and that is where the miracles occur. And it's very different from meditation. A lot of people think intention is just like meditation, but it's not at all. It's completely different. The brainwave signatures are completely different. When we've studied it and compared it to studies of meditation, we found meditation causes increases in certain brain waves that are decreased in intention. It increases the activity in parts of the brain toward the back of the head called the parietal lobes. They help you navigate through space. They are the me in relation to the world. They tell you what's me, what's not me. Those are increased, as are the parts of the self aspects of the brain and the worry aspects of the brain. In many cases with meditation, the self aspects of the brain increase. With our Power of Eight groups, with our intention, we find the opposite occurs. You turn off the self. And that, ironically, is the key to healing yourself. I've found with our intention study exactly the opposite, a quieting of the brain waves that become activated in meditation, a quieting of the frontal and parietal lobes, particularly in the frontal lobes, the part involved, as I said, with worry, doubt, negativity, a blurring of the feelings of between me and not me. We get into a state of ecstatic oneness. And I believe that, which we don't get to experience too often, is the true key to healing, the true fast track to healing. So I want to show you for a minute some people who have done this. Now, I have 2 recordings of people who have got out of their wheelchair after one 10-minute group intention. So the first woman is a woman called Maya, who was at an event I did, a live event back when we did live events in 2019. And she was in the audience. She did one 10-minute intention. And this is a woman who was paralyzed she was a quadriplegic. She was paralyzed from the neck down with this weird idiopathic paralysis. Nobody could understand what was going on with her. She was a young woman. I don't even think she's 30 years old. And it sometimes she would get feeling back and then it would go. And it was tragic because she is a dancer. So watch what happened to her.
Hey, I don't need you. I am in a wheelchair. I became paralysed from the neck down in January this year. Within the space of 2 hours. And I'm a contemporary dancer, and there's nothing wrong technically. So I recovered ish. I had 3.5 weeks half walking, and then it happened again in April. And I kind of recovered-ish until July, and then they just keep coming and going. My legs just come and go. It's mostly my legs at the moment. So my legs went again on Sunday. And I've not been able to stand for this long.
Wow.
I can just stand. Yeah. And dance is my absolute love. I'm a dance teacher, and I love moving more than anything in the world. And I'm really so beyond grateful, because I know the whole group were just visualizing me dancing and showing that I am just free, and that was the massive message I got. And I felt this massive buzz throughout my whole body from you all. It was like the most amount of love I've ever felt. So thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, this carries on, and this is the kind of thing I see when Power of 8 groups carry on and keep going.
Delicio, and I just went to the
Power of 8 intention
Power of 8
here in Sedona, Arizona.
and I'm in Sedona, Arizona, and I want to show you what I'm doing with this.
Goodbye.
Bye.
So what do you,
walk? It was amazing, just totally amazing to me.
what was your diagnosis that you
I'm
healed?
sorry, I had MS. I've had MS since 1998.
Yeah, let me just hide that. Okay, so now this is what a year-long Power of 8 intention group does. When people continue to meet again and again and again, and this is what I see that's so extraordinary. When I put people into Power of 8 groups and have them meet week after week after week, as I do with my Power of 8 Intention Masterclass, incredible things happen. Now, this is a group called Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. I like to name the different Power of 8 groups after Beatles songs. I'm a big Beatles fan. And so this is Emma Lonnie, who was part of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. This is what some things that happened to her group, and much more.
I'm in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, and it's an amazing group. From the first get-go, we had amazing results. We had a woman get a lung that she had been waiting for a transplant forever in our first 2 weeks. We had a woman have cancer gone with it. That was our first 2 to 3 weeks of our group. It was so amazing.
So that was Emma Lonnie. So she was talking about healing, but it works for other things. And that's the amazing thing. When I talk about a fast track to healing, I'm not just talking about healing the body. I'm also talking about healing your life, whether it is finances, career, maybe getting to that thing you wanted to do in your life and you've wanted to for years and years and years. And that's what happened to Eileen Coates. She is a journalist, and she always wanted to write that book and never did until she got into a Power of 8 group. So listen to this.
My name is Eileen Coates. So this year, I took your Master Intenders course and really learned what it means to formulate intentions and do your intentions with heartfelt gratitude for other people, and how that spills back on you and creates a more beautiful, miraculous life for yourself. And the outcome of this year's course with you is, after over 12 years of promising myself as a retired journalist from mainstream media that I would finally write my book, this year, during your Master Intenders class, I wrote my book with some YouTube friends called Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe. See, it really does work. Thanks, Lynn. Much gratitude and love to you and your whole team and everybody who practices the power of intention.
So that I found, she's my second book person too. We had another woman, Lisa Wheeler, who also wanted to do a book, and the group did an intention for her. And by doing that, she wasn't getting anywhere. And then they started trying to do this and that, and she was still not getting anywhere. She was trying to find an editor who would help her. And I finally said to her, get off of yourself. And I'm going to explain in a moment how powerful that is. So another thing that happens with Power of Eight groups is relationships, getting people in your life or healing the relationships you have. Now, one of those was Joy. She was in a masterclass of mine. She was with a Power of Eight group. She lives in Australia. She wanted to open up her heart to love. She was a Brit who's living in Australia now. Listen to her story.
I asked at one point, I intended for my heart to be opened and to bring more love into my life and love to other people. And as a result of that, about 2 weeks later, ex-boyfriend of mine contacted me. We were last saw each other 35 years ago, and since then we've been connecting every week, long telephone calls. We're now back together. It is still COVID period, so he's in the UK, but just today he contacted me and said he's booked the flight, he's going through the quarantine, so we'll actually be together in March. And yeah, it's just more than I could have dreamed of, So personally, it's been an amazing year of connecting more to spirituality, and meeting every week was just a joy for all of us in our group. I think we just really looked forward to it. We helped a lot of people that we didn't know, people outside of the group that we helped as well. So it was an amazing year, and I can't recommend enough people joining the Power of Eight Masterclass. It's really transformative, and just a beautiful thing to do.
As you can hear, that was Joy videoed that back in March. And of course, she and her boyfriend are now together in Australia. And as far as I know, they're living together, and it's all worked for her after so many years. Now, we talked about, Eileen talked about this whole idea of being a sender and a rebound effect. And that is a real power. This is my little secret number 4 for you, making use of the intention mirror effect. Because one of the extraordinary things about Power of Eight groups and about intention in general, all you hear about is I want, I get, but it's much more powerful when you are also involved in sending. When people are stuck, invariably, I will say, start sending for a while. As Lisa Wheeler did, as I told you, this is the second person who has had a book published. Now, she was desperate to write a book. She was a bodywork practitioner, couldn't get anywhere, as I mentioned earlier. So I finally said, Lisa, get off of yourself. Start sending to Diane, who was more needy than her. She needed a lot of money. She was in her group. Unbelievable. Lo and behold, about a week after she does this, she meets somebody in a shop she was randomly in, didn't even need to be in there, who turns out to be a book coach after they start talking, who finds out about Lisa's project, who coaches her through the whole process. Upshot is she gets an Amazon bestseller. So that is the power, and I've seen it repeatedly. And there's some good reasons for that. There is so much good evidence on the power of altruism. What it does to the body and mind is extraordinary. It changes the brain. we find people who focus on the self are more likely to suffer depression, anxiety, negativity. So one of the powerful things about small group intention, you get to get off of yourself. That's what I find the most amazing part of it. And the senders, by doing the sending, receive just as much. I mean, take Andy, who was trying to find a new job and getting nowhere. She was divorced, she needed a new job, she had small children. And I finally said, Andy, get off of yourself. Focus on this kid called Luke, who was trying to commit suicide. He didn't succeed. He'd broken up with his first serious girlfriend. He'd fallen off of a 40-foot structure deliberately onto hard ground. And so I said, focus on healing Luke, as all of my groups did for 3 successive sessions. And by the way, Luke is now 18 and a totally healthy young man. But for Andy, here's the interesting thing that happened right after she started intending for Luke and got off of herself.
Being instructed as part of a class to focus on somebody else, I felt a lightness right there. And then we started intending for Luke for a couple weeks. And I want to say very quickly, within that first 2 weeks, I ended up getting a completely unexpected job offer. I wasn't looking for that type of job. I never thought this person would offer me a job. And I didn't even really expect that I would get any job offers, because I hadn't really been putting myself out there in that 2 weeks. I've been doing some other stuff. So it was just totally out of the blue in every way you can humanly imagine. And it was right up my alley. I had a gift store for many years. I did product development for a lot of the manufacturers and the artists that I supported. And this was a job working for a prominent artist who needed help putting her art on products. So I was uniquely suited to that, right? But and yet I wasn't really thinking, like, I closed my store, I want to be a product development person, but I was excited for it. It was just like the perfect opportunity dropping in my lap.
So that has happened so often with people who get off themselves, who do intention for someone else. And here's the 5th thing I want to tell you about today, which is group intention is nothing less than transcendent. When you experience it, when you have that sense of where parts of the brain are diminishing, etc., you connect with other people, particularly as you connect more and more and more with them, it creates this sense of ecstatic oneness. And I think, as I said earlier, this is the fast track to the miraculous.
You know, what I believe in that group of 8 was opening directly to source, to each of our hearts, and this huge expanse of awareness of a universe, bigger than any of us. It's a sense of wellness and well-being that I can't say I've experienced before.
Intention in this group and in a group does something very powerful to the body and mind, and all of us are meditators and do a lot of personal growth work, that we don't get that anyplace else, and we can't do that by ourselves.
I felt the energy running through our hands. I felt the vibrations in the room change. I felt a very sort of special atmosphere was being created. I don't know, high vibration, very pure, little piece of heaven, call it what you want. But there was something that seemed to me that there was something special in that room.
So that is what people experience. So I'm going to answer your questions now about those 5 keys, about intention in general, about my Power of 8 course, which is the new masterclass kicking off in the beginning of February. It's a year-long course. I put you through 6 weeks, 6 sessions in the first part of it, of what I like to call intention boot camp. We have 6 2-hour sessions on live, but they're live online. They're live and interactive on Zoom. So you get to practice in small groups. You get to ask me questions. You get to do sorts of experiments and exercises. You get homework. And then I put you into groups. And this becomes your intention family for a whole year. You meet with them regularly, ideally once a week, and you do intentions for each other under my instruction. We monitor everything that's going on. Your groups, are, by the way, are in your time zone, and we organize them so that you are available to meet at those times. And then I have something new for this year. It's intention clinics. So once a month, I'm going to have a live session with my masterclass so I can answer questions and coach people individually and as a group into really getting to use and understand and master all of the techniques that I teach. So it's time now to answer some questions. So let's see if you want to write questions in the chat or in the Q&A. I can start answering some of your questions now. So, okay. So someone said someone asked if the class isn't open yet. She can't get any farther on the website than clicking the book now button. When I do that, nothing opens and I can't go any further down the original page. Will you write that? I've got your email and my team are on this call with me. If Laura will write to you, so it's Miron, MIRONMV. She'll write to you and she'll help you with that. Is there going to be a German translation in your masterclass, says Claudia? Or will there be the masterclass with Momanda with simulated translation? Yes, if I do a translation with it, Momanda and I are talking about doing the masterclass for German. So that is the organizer who has been working with me to supply my live courses in German. And I'll be doing them in some other languages too. We're talking about doing them in Italian as well. So someone said, what kinds of types of meditations did I study for this to see the difference? Many studies, the work of Dr. Andrew Newberg in particular, who was studying different kinds of meditators and looking at brainwave signatures. And that is the main thing we were looking at to compare between Power of 8 outcomes with brainwave signatures and meditation. How are these ladies doing now? They're doing just fine, James. Does the Power of 8 work in virtual groups? Asks Anna. That's all they are in most cases, Anna. With my course group members, they are only meeting virtually. Some of them have been meeting for years and yet they've never met each other. I know I started doing the virtual groups and the big courses for a year. In 2015, I started doing virtual groups in general with a masterclass around 2013. Many people, many groups have been meeting since then, and they've never actually met each other. Some groups actually arrange to meet, and because you're in the same time zone, that could be possible. I had a group that some of the people had to travel about 500 miles, but they were desperate to meet each other in person. I'm planning to move in June to another state in June with the same time zone. Does this preclude my participation in one group? Absolutely not, because as long as you're in the same time zone, that works fine. What do you actually think or say, asks Jerome? To write down or heal someone else who has mental or emotional issues? Well, it's the same thing, Jerome. When we're trying to heal breast cancer, we're focusing on healing that part of the body. If we're trying to heal depression, we focus on healing the depression. We also look to healing the cause of the situation too. So emotional issues, relationship issues, career issues, finance issues, the whole lot, all can be done with intention too. Joyce Wagner asked, can groups do intention for people outside the group? Absolutely. Many of our masterclass members will start out doing things for the group, but then somebody outside their group, one of their loved ones or friends, is ill, and they do an intention for them, or a child of theirs, a young adult of theirs has issues, and they do an intention for them. So you're absolutely able to do intentions for people outside. And how do the groups form, says Edna? I mean, it's variable how many people join. We usually sold out every single time, Edna, and we are limited to the amount that can be on Zoom. But we get sold out, but we have a team working with the master class members so that everybody gets very individualized help in forming groups. How are the groups formed? My team formed them we ask people to fill out a form with their time zone and their preferred time to meet. And that's how we very painstakingly put them together. How is this course different from the Intention Essentials, says Kidest? Great question. Intention Essentials is a very introductory course. It's a foundational course. I teach many more keys to the masterclass, which I consider an intermediate course, and we bring intention out into the world. So I show you how to pick up the thoughts of others so that you can figure out their intentions, how to improve your relationships with intention, how to overcome your own negativity and that of everyone else so it isn't leaking into you with intention, and much more about group intention. So there's much there, and also how to go back and look at what you are doing to sabotage yourself. So and Jude said, I can imagine these results in groups meeting in person, but that's a different vibe from meeting long distance online. Do you have any experience or evidence about how well this worked via Zoom? Almost all of those videos you saw, other than the two who got out of their wheelchair, were all people who met virtually. So it works. The vast majority of the groups I work with meet online, and it works exactly the same. Heidi asks, are payment plans available? If you will write in the chat, my team member Laura will talk to you about that. And Francis says, French, what about French speaking? Well, we are talking about doing a class in French, both via Zoom and possibly having an event in Paris. So if you join on my website, my community, so just sign up on my website to receive my information, my weekly newsletters, etc. We'll let you know when we're going to offer this in French. Nor would it be mandatory to read your book first before the masterclass? It's not mandatory, but it's a smart thing to do, I would say, to get the background of how I developed this. How do you actually think or say or write down to heal someone else who has physical diseases like cancer? We've worked with many, many hundreds of people who have had cancer, and Emalani mentioned it. What I said earlier in my talk, the more specific, the better, is really, really important. So again, let's say Jane Doe has stage 4 cancer, and her cancer has originated in her right breast. So this is how I'd frame it. Our intention, if it's a group, our intention is for Jane Doe to be permanently, immediately, completely, and permanently healed from breast cancer in her right breast, and also any metastases, particularly the two in the C2 and C3 portion of her spine, so that she is healthy and well in every way. That's the kind of very specific intention I would create. And I work with the groups on my masterclass to create intentions for their specific issues. Can we make bigger healing intentions with more people? If we make it a bigger group, or do you suggest 8 people or more groups of 8 people? It doesn't have to be 8. It can be 5, it can be 12. 8 is a beautiful round number. And as I think of it as a Goldilocks number, it's not too big, it's not too little. So I usually suggest that you use about 8, but smaller or larger groups work. The whole thing though, Marie, is that size, the bigger the group, it doesn't matter how big the group is, it doesn't make it more powerful. What you need is a group of any size. Yes. Oh, an anonymous person said, if I understand it well, all people in the group agree with the intentions that are sent. What if a person whom we want to send intention is unconscious or in a state we can't ask for his permission, I assume? Is it okay to send him intention if he doesn't agree with it? Here's what I would do. If somebody's unconscious, I think it's okay. You know, if they're ill, if they're in a coma or something, I think it's okay to do that intention without their permission. I think if for anybody who's conscious and not a baby or a small child, I think you need to ask permission. And if he doesn't agree with it, I don't think you should do it. What you can do if he doesn't believe in the power of intention, just say, I'd like to do some secular prayer for you. Is that okay? And that usually is the way to approach it. And most people will understand prayer. Do understand though, if somebody really doesn't believe, when you mention prayer, they usually think to themselves, uh-oh, I'm a goner. I'm gonna die because this is a last gasp measure. They're praying for me. I must be in desperate straits. I've always been interested in joining the group, but I'm not employed. Do you have payment options that are supportive of a person like me who's on social welfare and a single parent? Nelta, I like my material to be available in some form for everyone. Now, the Masterclass is a pretty intense project that requires a lot of my team to make it work as seamlessly as we do. What I also have are ways to be part of Power of 8 groups. So there is a Facebook page called Connecting and Healing Through the Power of 8 you can join and advertise for people on who you want to be to create a Power of 8 group with in your time zone. You can join my community, also free, and advertise for a Power of 8 group. You can watch my podcasts or read my blogs, all free. And you can participate in my intention experiments, always free. So there are many, many things to do. You could take my book out of the library. So please don't let finances hold you back in creating a Power of 8 group. If you want to work with me for a year, of course I have to charge because it requires a big team to make this happen. But I like to make my work available for people on different incomes. How long does the intention healing last? Forever, a period of time? Well, that all depends. Do they need booster clinics at every time point? No, I've had so many people who are permanently healed from 10 minutes. I have thousands of people who have been part of an audience I've spoken at. And I created a Power of 8 groups to show them how to do it, and they had some amazing healing. James says, I have considerable experience in meditation, creation, healing, and other capabilities. Is it possible to join a Power of 8 group without taking the initial course first? Well, I answered that. What I will say to you though, James, is meditation, other things that you're talking about create different brainwave signatures than Power of 8 groups and the intention work as I teach it. That could nullify the effects. What I suggest to people like you is practice your stuff, the other things you've learned at another time. Don't bring it to the Power of 8 group. Use the intention protocol that I teach because that's what I know works. So Teresa says, the focus is on sending for others so we don't send for ourselves. No, you get to take your turn. That's the great thing about a Power of Eight group. You send for other people and they send to you. And that virtuous circle starts healing everybody. What time is the weekly class, says Debbie Davis? It is on the first 6 weeks. My intention boot camp occur on Saturdays at 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Pacific. So it's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK, 7 p.m. Europe, and then everywhere else, just check with the time zone clocks. And that is a 2-hour live and interactive session. You work with me, you work with groups, you do experiential work, you do, I have you do individual and class work, and you have homework in between. So that's your intention boot camp. Then you're put into groups and you have monthly sessions. That's what's new. I've started an intention clinic, so that a monthly intention clinic, so that you get a chance to fine tune everything you're doing to maximize your chances of success. The intention clinics will be held at some point during the week, probably around the same time, possibly 9 a.m. Pacific. We'll be organizing that. We mentioned about group focusing on those who haven't asked for help. Will this course help with global issues, bringing peace, love, and harmony to the planet? Well, Val, that's what I try to do with my intention experiments. And my Power of Eight groups have oftentimes, I've talked to them about using it in their community. So I have the Power of Eight groups working on, I've had groups intending for, to stop forest fires in California. And it was extraordinary. They were doing an intention to try to stop the fire that was going to a friend of one of the course members. And what happened is they imagined it as a bubble around that person. And you won't believe it, the fire went around that person's house and it was saved. We've had group members do intention for more rain when it's been needed in parts of the country and measured it. So I encourage people to do that too, to use the intention for the bigger environment. The big global issues, people tend to join me with intention experiments then. Bonnie, do you have any plans to write a sequel to the Power of Eight book? Oh yes, I'm working on putting together, I am percolating a book right now. If my sister and Evelyn says, if my sister and I both join, can we be in the same group? Yes, Evelyn, if you specify it, write to Laura, and Laura in the chat, please just write in the chat and on Facebook, write how people can get hold of you. So if you write directly to Laura at wddty.co.uk, she'll arrange for you two to be in the same group. What I also tell people to do, though, is to be part of a group as well of people you don't know. That works more miraculously in lots of ways, because part of what you're going to learn in my intention boot camp and have to practice in real life is how to get along with anybody, even people you don't agree with, even people you don't know so well. So that's part of really stretching. And that's also why the Intention Masterclass is an intermediate course, because it really takes intention to a different level. Can a person feel blocked in moving forward with creating intentions, says Radha? How can it be dealt with? There's a whole big protocol that I do for people who are sabotaging themselves. And usually it has to do with finding out the source of that sabotaging and working with intention to remove that block. How can we identify the emotional cause of an illness to do a complete healing if the person isn't aware of the cause? Is there a technique? Yes, there is. It's again, getting back to the original thing that happened, finding the first time they had a certain kind of emotion, exploring more with the illness. I mean, I teach that a lot in a course I call Become a Better Healer with the Power of Eight. But we do talk about sabotage, self-sabotage, the origination of blocks on the masterclass. How do I define intention? Is it thoughts that are being broadcast? Yes, it is the thoughts you're broadcasting all the time inadvertently. And so the important thing is to start focusing what you're thinking so you're not undermining yourself. Do the groups heal addictions? Oh gosh, yes, said Asher. We had a woman a year ago who was addicted to sugar, and we've had people with drug addictions too, and intending for family members with drug addictions. The woman with sugar addiction was so bad that she couldn't. She would wake up in the middle of the night to eat something, to eat and to feed that sugar addiction. And it was hurting her marriage. She wasn't getting enough sleep. She was sleeping till the afternoon. It was terrible. So the group intended for her, and she's dropped her sugar addiction. She's eating healthily. She's meditating. She's doing exercise. Her relationship with her partner, her husband, is brilliant. So it is quite amazing what happens with addictions. You know, over all this time, I've seen intention heal and group intention heal just about anything. Can a Swedish, Danish, and Norwegian speaking group create work in the one-year course? Yes, Christina, as long as you speak English. We have groups in the Netherlands, we have groups in Scandinavia all the time, and we will try to always put the people who are in Scandinavia together. And, you know, I think last year and the year before, we always gave them the title, their group, the title of Norwegian Wood, of course, using Beatles songs. So yes. And Joyce, I think I've talked about the idea of intention being used for national and world issues. It's what I do. Okay, Kim says, one has a serious, he or she has a serious health issue, and the other is about serving others and assisting with deep cultural changes. How will I decide which one to choose? Can we have 2 intentions within the year? You have many intentions within the year. That's the point of meeting every week. You get to meet with your group. You get to form an intention for that week or that month. You get to do something else. We've had multiple intentions, and people can do, you know, whatever intention they need for that time. And is intention healing or intention group synonymous to prayer or prayer circles? Says an anonymous person or asks him. Not quite. A prayer or prayer circle, first of all, talks to a specific God. And everybody's idea about God is a little bit different. Secondly, oftentimes with a prayer or prayer circle, it's a supplication. Please, God, or please, Jesus, or please, Allah, you decide. You decide for me. This is a very specific request to the universe. Now, I don't believe we're just doing it. I believe we are part of, you know, we are more like a conduit to healing, and that the field, consciousness, the all-in-one is doing that healing with us, but that we are essentially a lightning rod by using a group. So it's different. It's more focused and it's secular because I don't want to alienate people. Okay, and Nigel has said about a payment plan, please just write in the chat or contact Laura and you can find out. Claudia, Spanish, we are looking into doing Spanish too. Will the intention clinic sessions or the initial 6 months of live interaction with you be available for us to review on different days if we can't attend the live classes? Cadets, this is again, absolutely, everything is recorded, and we have a special place on my community site that's available just to Masterclass members. Karen says she missed the talk part. Is there going to be a replay? Absolutely. This is recorded and it's on Facebook right now. And let's see. Oh, I thought this practice was secular in focus, but heard for the video clips that people have experienced a growth in spirituality. It is a natural progression because he said, is that a specific intention or a natural progression? It's a natural progression. When you see miracles as a result of holding an intention together, of course that makes your spirituality grow. What it doesn't, what we try to do is avoid a specific religion, because we have people joining all over the world with all kinds of religions or not. And I want this to be available to everybody. How do the 3 Sunday intentions influence the participants? Well, very well. We've had extraordinary situations of reversing bone cancer and healing pain and all sorts of things. And so we carry on. And for people who don't know that, every Sunday, we put an intention of the week up, and we have 3 worthy people with health challenges that we ask our entire community to do healing intentions for. And if you want to participate in that, that is also free. Just join my community. So you just sign up on my website if you're not part of my community already, and you'll get an email every Friday with information about how to join. Qigong is a type of meditation, asked Jude, that requires intense mental focus and meditation. Would these conflict with doing an intention group? No, just do it at a different time. Don't do your Qigong at the same time you do intention work in a Power of 8 group. I will be explaining that in great detail on my course. But I ask people, don't add in archangels, don't add in white light, don't add in purple flames, don't add in anything other than what I demonstrate to you, because each of these modalities work. They all work, but they have different effects on the body and brain. So I just suggest people just follow what I know works after doing this. Why do some get results almost instantaneously and others not? Well, that's the $64,000 question, but a lot of it has to do with belief, self-sabotage, all of that. When I can get people to get off of themselves, oftentimes that's the secret way to heal them. Okay, so it's coming up. We're a little bit past the hour. I'm going to just finish up the questions I've got. Why do we have thoughts we need to police? Survival, animal brain, etc. Why aren't we on 24/7 positive intentions constantly? That is such a great question. And I believe it has a lot to do with the way we have defined ourselves. So this is a long answer, but this will give you some idea. Remember, we operate according to a scientific story that's been written more than 300 years ago, which defined us, and that was thanks to Isaac Newton, as separate and self-contained objects operating according to fixed laws in time and space. That idea of our separation permeated every area of our lives, then was bolstered by the work of Charles Darwin, who said he was very influenced by the ideas of population explosion at the time. And so he thought life must proceed through struggle because there isn't enough to go around. So that mindset of separateness and having to have a situation of I win, you lose, that life is a race to the finish line, that has permeated us. And so that kind of thinking, that negative thinking, we're not enough, we're not going to get enough, everybody else is out to get us, is all part of that mindset. But it's a false scientific story. A new scientific story is emerging. That's much of the work that I do, showing we're all one, we are all connected, and we have miraculous powers we have not tapped. But when we learn to unleash them, miracles happen and our true selves emerge. And that's what I'm trying to do with my work. Okay, so Nigel, how can I create a Power of 8 group outside the year-long group, please, again, join my community and advertise for people in your time zone, or connecting and healing through the Power of 8. But this is for everybody. I would love to work with everyone who can work with me on any one of my courses, particularly my Masterclass. And Jenny says, does an intention group of strangers become more effective if they get to know one another better? Absolutely. They become a virtuous circle. They become a healing vortex. And that's what's so powerful about the year-long course. That's why I created a year-long course, so that this would become your intention family. These are the people who've got your back, who help you heal. They are your tribe. And that's what I want them to do. Kirsten, is it common to do one intention per session, or can a group do more than one? Absolutely. One for each 10-minute session. But I usually suggest that groups meet for an hour, and they can usually fit 10, including feedback and talk, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. Oh, Christina said, I'm not strong on English. Can I ask for a group who don't speak English but our own language? Christina, yes. I mean, and the answer is yes. If you have to specify which language you do, but if we're assuming, if we put you together with Swedish or Danish or Norwegian, that you will all be speaking that language. Can you repeat whether you can attend Masterclass without previous experience? Absolutely. As I say, it's an intention. It is an intermediate class, but people who don't have previous experience with me, it's ideal if you take the intention essentials first, but you don't have to. And definitely, we work with you too. Can you be part of 2 different groups? Says Lee. I'd like to be part of an Italian group and also a Scandinavian group, as I live in Sweden. In my master class, no, just one. We can put you in one. But, you can go out and end up running another one, having another group, or joining it through my community too. Do you experience negative effects as being part of the group? Asks Iva. Not that I've heard. I mean, I think 1 or 2 people have said they had some momentary feelings because it's so powerful, but I've never had anybody have a difficult problem. Okay, so, yeah, somebody said, once the 6 Saturday week sessions are done, then the group of 8 is on a different day of the week. The group of 8 is on a day of the week that you pick. We put you into a time zone and a day of the week that you choose. So we put you with other people in that time zone and day, so that you can all work together. Is it not okay to do a quick heart-brain coherence before starting the intention? No, it's not. I love Heart Math. I'm really good friends with them, but they do something different than what we do. So I ask people respectfully, hold that for another part of the day. Just do the kind of intention work that I suggest and the protocol that I recommend, because then I know it's going to work. All right, everybody, I've got to go now. I hope that many of you join me. Please, write down now, or write in the chat, write on Facebook. Any queries you have, please see Laura's email so you can contact her, and then she can relay that to her and the rest of my team, so that we can connect with you. And thank you for all of my questions that you've asked. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Facebook page, for anybody who's been on this. I look forward to connecting with you all soon. Take care now, and may all your intentions come true.